Rochelle is one of the most sincerest writers I know, who can really show up to do writing as life. Whether it's screenwriting, whether it's short stories, whether it's teaching how to write, whether it's writing poetry, and I think that's of course your first kind of entry into the world of words. And you talk more about that, but she's someone who I have so much respect for, that you can really be committed to the craft in a way that defies distraction, the day and age of distraction. So that's superb. Congratulations on your newest book. She's Connect Loving P3. She's also written the foreword for our first one, P3 and DD's first book. So I'm excited. Today happened very. चलो कुछ करते हैं साथ में. She said, okay, April में a new book is coming out. Why don't we launch it together? And a month and a half ago, we said, okay, let's make it happen. We wanted this to be a very intimate sit-down thing.
I look at all the experiences that I face as a woman in the city, and though they might be personal experiences, they are everyone else's experience somehow or the other, because we all are living in the same time and space. And let's say street harassment for me is not different for you. The anger that we may face is not different for anybody. Sexual desire that we think is it can be so judgmental, society can be so judgmental about it. That's not different. How much you want to speak about it, how much you don't want to, how much you measure your worth. Same thing happening, like I start with a personal space, and then it's maybe sensual, and then it goes to expanding outer orbits of social life, family. There's a lot of characters in my poetry because I am an incorrigible storyteller. So I was always a storyteller. So even when I became an accidental poet, you find many of these poems, they are abstract, but many of the other poems have characters. Harry Mendonça, it's completely a kind of a funny, comical obituary. Because I wanted to catalog actually not Harry Mendonça and not his dual life, but actually the whole comic of how many brands do we consume as a person from birth to death. Yeah, so what is the catalog of our brands? And it was supposed to be for an ad application actually. I was an ad student. And that was one leftover thought which never left me. It never left me. So I finally repurposed it into Harry Mendonça.
Right. Yeah. Read something from it or should I read?
No, you read.
I read? Okay. So Harry Mendonça is it's written as like verses are left and right aligned, because at its core it shows you the multiple personalities that we all carry as people, and how parts of our lives, I think, are perceived differently by our action. Our actions are perceived differently, and different people know for different actions.
And the gossipers at the funeral. You always find
yes.
the most interesting people are not the person who's dead in the coffin, but the gossipers who are talking about this person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not going to read the opening one. This starts from the second verse. It says, Harry Mendonça, he, the consumer of Amul butter, Limca, Lipton tea, lover of crackjack biscuits, gold spot, Parle-G, and old monk and bagpiper on Christmas Eve. They found in his side cupboard 20 styles of brooms, 4 halves, 5 Mount Hoggins, a sauce bottle that had turned black, items from the spee markets, and a bag of chips from 1976. Anyway, he was the user of Old Spice, Colgate, Palmolive, Dettol, Amritanjan balm, Borosil for burns, Dabur talcum powder, and Gillette shaving cream. They found under his mattress a diary of how he killed neighborhood dogs, Polaroids and drawings of torture of birds and cats, some occult diagrammatic stuff.
And when I read it, I always have to move side. There's this person who's announcing the obituary. Yeah. So the person is very serious because they're trying to mourn the death of this person. Because in death you're supposed to be very serious. And then, even if it's the death of an asshole, and then you actually go this way and you're like gossiping about. But anyhow, it's that.
Oh, how interesting. You should go for it.
Audience ask. You should do it.
Yeah, because it's a long poem, I'll just do maybe 2 stanzas. 2 stanzas. I will come into the gossip of that. This is a long one. So it's like, I'll start from where you stopped. Anyway, he was the user of Old Spice, Colgate Palmolive, Dettol, Amritanjan balm, Borosil for burns, Dabur talcum powder, and Gillette shaving cream. They found under his mattress a diary of how he killed neighborhood dogs, Polaroids and drawings of torture of birds and cats, some occult diagrammatic stuff. Anyhow, he is survived by his son Roger, daughter Alma, grandchild Jane, wife Olga, predeceased by brother John, father James, mother Jean. Roger discovered letters with revealing phones of several women, unopened, unused gifts atop his cupboard, a box of sardonic emails for all the neighbors, a gift to be opened only after his death, of a cock ring, massage oils and vibrator. Anyhow, and that's how it goes.
That is amazing. I forgot the question we started this morning. Your performance.
Yes.
I have circled as one poem.
It's actually skin, you know, it's skin.
It's bread.
Oh, you thought it's bread.
No, I didn't think of that. I'm saying there's a poem called.
Will you also tell us the page numbers?
Yes.
So for layers of etiquette, it is, I forgot. I just
Visual poem that I'll just talk about. Since visual poems are so difficult to decode, poetry anyway is a telegram. So this one, which is called Gravity, which is on page 25. No? So Gravity is such a poem that we have spoken enough about it. We have enough of conversations on it. It's about what women have to deal with and where do they start in the starting line in a patriarchal or a male-dominated society. They are always starting with much more problems, much more shackles, their kind divisions are much more. In the olden days, they were actually washing clothes and laundry and bartan and utensils. Maybe the pandemic equalized something. But they're always starting from men. Not that the men have no challenges, I'm not saying that, but women always had more things, more children around their waist, more cooking pots. So, in the Abraham Maslow's pyramid, I always thought that it is the male who has the opportunity to transcend and use. And when I saw that, they are still stuck at the middle rungs and they're dealing with the primitive apes. So there are these primitive apes here. Yeah. No, that is also what Abraham Maslow's need. Yeah, food is need.
Don't make her conscious. Please continue.
Not at all.
Thank you so much for hearing us. Thank you.
But you will see that we are dealing with primitive apes. And that primitiveness is not going anywhere so soon, because that could be the misogyny, that could be casual sexism, that could be microaggressions that you deal with day in and day out. Sometimes you laugh them out, sometimes you retort pungently, sometimes you ignore. But we have a code against her. The gravity of everything that pulls her down. So therefore you have these pregnant women here, and see, I had given these poems in white, like colored, but we couldn't use color. So that's why in the black and white, it kind of, you need to really discern, but that's like a hat of violence, and there is this blood, because she deals with violence.
You drew this?
No, I didn't draw it, but
Who illustrated it?
So this, the cover designer.
Cover design.
But I had given the whole thing, like, patchwork, like a Photoshop thing. This is what I want. And I worked very much on that, tweaking that for no rhyme or reason. Then they were like, we will redo it. So you will see that. So, yeah, so that is it. And other than that, you asked me the first question is, the first part of the question was on the form, right?
Yes.
The form and
Form.
Yeah, so.
Elevation form.
Yeah. So, I can only tell you my process, because everyone forms their own process. How many are poets here, practicing poets in the room? There we go. What's your name?
Yeah.
So, whether you read poetry, or especially when you practice poetry, you form your own techniques, right? You know yourself well. Not just the biorhythms of when you work. Somebody may want to work early in the morning, somebody works late night, somebody works in a train mein mujhe na sabse zyada khayal aate hain. Somebody wants quiet. Everyone has a biorhythm. They work differently. So I can only tell you what I do. Whenever a poem or an idea attacks me, I do, if it's, there are different incubation times or inception times. So a poem comes in one exhibition, other forms will take more time or they will need more outlining. For a poem, when I think I'm ready, I write it. I don't wait. And I write it. It's only in the next time intervals that I will edit it.
So you do it?
I do edit it, but I don't edit it like I don't change lines and words. I may line break it. I may mostly remove words because I'm an overwriter, of so to speak. Even my short stories are already overwritten. My many things are because I want to tell so much, and then I need to pull back. So my editing is chiseling away extra words and even cancelling of stanzas if need be, rearranging the stanzas, line breaking, and also checking on how many are page words here. Page and not stage. So page is very essential in terms of space.
It's actually a fantastic
Yeah.
word.
How nice to know that. And so space, you know how we deal with space, because I think space is like the pause in music. So you always want to see the interplay. Of course, there are poets who have even tried to, add and delete a semicolon for the whole day. But then that's luxury. That's luxury.
That's too much.
That's too much.
But you said they come to you, which is why I'm surprised that you know so many words. I'll tell you why. Because when I started, the first poem of this collection is called Bread.
No, this one I had to research also.
Research.
This I
Thank God.
researched.
Because I said I would be so jealous
No.
if these are words and I would read it out because I want her to pay attention to the words that she knows, and I was like, what the hell?
No, this I was reading a lot on bread because when this idea struck me, I didn't write. The idea struck me, I'll tell you how. I was just thinking, and why I placed it here. It's a little opaque poem, it's a little difficult poem to start with. And I was going to risk that because you see, when you are also know the marketing of Amazon, when you open the first pages are the first pages. They at least need to be friendly for God's sake. Mine started with bread, and I'm like, oh, this is so opaque. Everyone's going to run away. But the logic of this was that civilization starts with the morning. It starts with the morning light. And it starts with bread, roti, naan, chapati, Eucharistic. And then I suddenly thought, oh, this was this epiphany and this idea, bread. Why did the whole civilization join hands in the making of the dough and that whole thing? You go anywhere on earth, you will find that morning bakery ka thing.
The smell and
Yes,
the
whether
moment.
it's, it could be anywhere, it could be Turkey, it could be Japan, it could be any part of the world. They are doing their morning croissant, they are doing their roti. So I was like, I want this poem. This is that feeling I want. So this poem is a feeling actually, and it's a taste. It's the bread and the morning light. Now I was so greedy, how do I capture this? Because I don't know much about bread. Is it a bakery that I want to capture, like the Dilip Chitri's bakery? No. It was something else, something very new, like the first ray of civilization. So now I needed to think then, what all do I want? Then I had to research because I don't know so much about bread. Now, there was one chef in Pune who read this and said, Kya baat hai, you wrote even chalna, huh? This is what we made. And
It's
He's
like,
I never thought you would know chalna. And I was like, no, I didn't. I just wanted to capture it before it ran
you
away.
use the thesaurus on the word bread, didn't you?
No,
I
I really used Google. I really Googled even how the recipes of different bread are. Lots of it. Once when I was saturated like bread, then I was ready to make this poem and I was like, okay, now let it be what it is. Then it came out. Okay, this was it. So, and the other one,
Wedding
Day was such an asinine poem.
Before that, I want a quick pop. Asinine poems. Before we get to that tangent, how many words and types of bread do we all know? Because I swear I did not know chalna. Even I follow a few Instagrammers who make breads from the world and things like that. I didn't remember these names. But there's baguette, challah, brioche, so many others. Where's the other ones?
Everything actually. When the Buddhist
बहुत
civilization.
सारे हैं. But how many do you all know? Different types of it.
I mean, I know challah. I made challah.
Okay.
So, ciabatta, baguette.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you for reading
Sardo.
this poem.
Sardo, yeah, sardo is such.
And I have to say, it's not just abroad, but even in India, for example, Goa, where I come from, the whole world
Koi.
revolves around the bread and the potato and the koi and all of this.
Koi.
Many things, yeah.
And lovely, textures between soft to hard crust to soft inside.
And even roti, if you go to think, it's technically bread.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then all forms, so many rotis, naans, and so many of them, right? And I will read, you come from Goa, and I also am a Goan. So I'll read a powerful.
Oh my god, yes.
Were you a power by any chance?
No. I am
Because I was.
raised in Mumbai and married a Goan and then became a Goan. Now my son is a complete Goan background, so I have no choice.
So when I was growing up, we used to be teased Pawali, right? So Paw, I wrote one because it's more than that. The way communities are described,
Absolutely.
or sometimes stereotyped. So yeah, but that's a high book. That's also there in this book.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming back to wedding day.
Wedding day, which was, for context, Rochelle and I were talking because I just like put out a loose structure on paper, and I said, okay, can you go through it, give me some inputs if any. And wedding day it's the most, it immediately I got it. But you said it's the most difficult. One reason I can, you want to read it before you? Yes.
So I'll read it, but you'll understand that बहुत research लगा because I don't live that life. But I'll tell you more about it. First, I'll read it, okay? This I'll read the whole poem, I think.
It's not very long.
Yeah, it's okay. Wedding day. When Santosh wanted urgent love marriage in just 15 days, he said, I need girl only for me. She has faithfully for me. He looked for simple things. She should be non-Facebook user, exceptionally fair, convented, at least matric and virgin, or issueless and innocent divorce. Completely non-feminist, but an extremist and compassionate, patriotic to country, with a keen desire to increase India's military and sports capabilities, expert in child raising, H1 visa, no bar, powerful and rich. And congratulations, he found her. Her good name Priya, from top college, 22 or 21, with a dowry of $10,000. They went to special wedding party with all drinks included, vodka, whiskey, gin, child beer, strong rum, and old monk. The marriage hall, with unisex laboratories for all those gay people, was near Sharma Sweets and Snakes, right side to Amos English Academy run by Anu Sharma, in front of Santosh Taylor's Alteration of Ladies and Gents and Welcome Tourist Office of We Speak English. At the backside gate, visitors were welcome, only regrets to their vehicles and no encouragement of beggars. In trust we God, Santosh wedded Priya. They look like hero and heroine with their crowns, no? Said all. They are laughing so much, showing their cold teeth in such a kind of marriage. Go slow, this is an accident-prone area, said an uncle. The gifts were many, bedsheets and Sony erection folds. Organic ghee from tension-free cows and condoms in all flavors like hot air balloons. The only villains were the in-laws who took up the best gifts in compensation. Shoplifters will be prostituted, said Santosh, making his big eyes red. But who were listening? All males and females were busy, eating and drinking. Only their dead bodies will walk home, he wrote, neither on foot nor ambulance. Don't these people know I am yes for Santosh? Satisfaction guaranteed. Above all women's and men's, get my special vitamins. I want 2 children, both men. Yes, yum, zen. I have to really research in the way like
You said matrimonial ads.
matrimonial ads, how do people speak English, and how do they make the marpens of English? That kind of thing, like I need to understand the flavor, and this is all, it's a found poem almost.
I don't know if you've seen those videos that used to do the rounds on Instagram and Facebook. Where they basically have actors who are essentially doing a video matrimonial ad. It's very clearly in this style, like myself, so and so. This is I want boy who is English.
Were they real?
They want
No,
to.
there was kids. But they could
Very easily be real. That's what. Yeah.
Right.
I'll send that later.
But yes, so this was a found poem because I had to search anywhere and everywhere. And also, Nitin Zikil would write a lot of sober poems and he would write a lot of fun poems, like Pushpa and all those things and all. So I wanted to do few Nitin Zikil poems like him. But at the same time, I also wanted to not mock anyone who's poor. So if there is a poor character, like the rickshawala who comes from Bihar, I wanted to mock or have fun with his not English speaking, but not mock him or his state. That's a very difficult task. Very difficult task.
Exactly what I was going to say. At what point do you decide the difference?
Yeah, so that is in my other poem called A Letter of Application to a School Principal, which is him writing his application, and he's writing a Fado application. You have to read it because it's all like fun. Okay, he's using all the problems, and but I had to not mock him or his state. At the same time, this person is a misogynist. Okay, this guy, the wedding day guy. So he needs to be mocked, and he needs to be had fun of. So I think the decision is mostly a creative decision, right? I mean, that is the same creative decision you will take as a storyteller, or as a screenplay writer, or as a short story writer. What are the layers of character? Is it an antagonist? Is it a protagonist? How do I depict this person without this coming in the way? Like I'm writing a novel called The DeCosta Family, and and it's a madcap gang war between the Goan Catholics and the Anglo Indians. Yeah, and it's madcap because whatever they're taking seriously is like, kya baat kar rahe hain? You know, like is this? It's just fun. It's just, because it's my community and I've lived with these people. I wanted to have some good fun, but I had to see that at no point it gets completely mockery. You know, the black comedy also is when the characters take themselves seriously and you want to take them seriously, and after a while you're like, kya baat kar rahe ho? You know, it's more difficult to write these books.
It is. I understood why it would be so difficult because it's so sensitive. It's in English, right? At the end of the day,
You have to get your tone right.
Not be English elitist about it, and have some fun, but not at the expense of someone. She mentioned letter of application to school principal. That's on page 56. If anyone wants to read it, you have English writing, urban bred poet. I want to say, what about language and the difference of what English sounds like? Why this particular form to capture this? Why not any other? Is it just to try and get as close to the sound of the language as possible? I was very curious about it.
No, I think somewhere now, like behind the scenes, some poems I'm writing now for the sake of playing, being playful. I'm tired of being this very serious poet all the time, talking of serious subjects in serious ways. I feel the Navarasas are open to us. We should sometimes talk of very serious things in very comical ways. Black comedy. We should use different rasas to talk of different things. So even I want to get off that high horse of proper English and the international resident comes back to India.
I love that form. I don't know if you read translation of Pula Deshpande, but throwing the recommendation, hilarious. I mean, I had never thought of laughing at my middle class, so I hope you didn't hurt yourself. I have never thought of laughing at the middle classness of our lives in the way that Pula Deshpande makes us.
No, and I also, as a poet, want to get out of that whole trap that you need to write proper, sober poems with big gravitas. Why can't you tell gravitas in black comedy? Why can't you tell it with musty? Why can't you use another bhav, another ras? So this is also to untrap myself, to get out of boxes. And that's also because parallelly while I was writing this book, I was also writing screenplays. And when I was writing screenplays, I was not only writing drama, I was writing comedy, I was writing paranormal horror, I was writing rom-coms, I was writing sci-fi. No, I was writing sci-fi. So when you're breaking your your barriers on one side, then when you come into parallelly writing your poetry, you're like, "Arey, isme comic ras, hasya rasa kahan hai?" It's everything is becoming very serious. Where is the hasya rasa? Because you could tell feminism in a fun way. You don't only have to tell it in a pungent, angry way all the time. You can also have fun. So I came back and asked, where are the other rasas? Then I was like, Harry Mendonça. You know, like, why am I leaving this guy out? So that's
Because I want to talk about just poetry as a craft also. And I don't know how many of you all, nobody said their page post, but if you want to publish poetry, right? Two things that I want to continue to talk about. But you mentioned rasas. One, I think this has a great mix of that. There are poems that are like big bang level gravitas. I think there's one POW, which is a city.
that is like
That cellular POW, right? That's like 100 words dotted, separated, and put into, I think, what is one of the most powerful quotes, verses of the whole or the whole book.
okay. So I'm glad because again, no one spoke of this one.
Why am I catching all
Yeah.
I'm just doing. I'm a collect. You want to read that?
No, I can't read such a crazy poem.
It
but,
is, yeah.
But and it's a very how do you say, a sad poem because it's told from the point of view of the prisoner of
It
war. And I wanted to get the tone right. See, many times, like I feel that words and images, they only play to what the tone and mood you want. You're capturing with words and images that what you're not capturing or not able to capture.
Yeah.
So, like music is capturing infrasonic and ultrasonic sound.
Yeah.
Or light is capturing what you can't see, UV rays.
Yes.
So even art is like this. You're trying to capture what cannot be captured by capturing what can be captured.
Yeah.
So here I'm not talking about anything. I'm just telling you that he can't breathe properly.
And that is exactly how you feel when you read it.
So each word is like staccato shot.
Yeah.
Because he can't breathe. He can't breathe for many reasons.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Not only because it's claustrophobic, but he doesn't know when he will get out.
Yeah.
He's under heavy chains.
Yeah.
So he can't breathe. So then everything is about that.
Yeah. So I want juxtapose
Yeah.
having all these rasas in one collection, which is fantastic. So congratulations on that. But also the academic craft, right? You teach it.
Yes.
You teach writing in general. Do you teach poetry?
I teach poetry.
So poetry can be done.
No, I teach.
And when you say teach poetry, because you are on both sides, that's a great thing, right? Because perhaps what you're teaching, you are also able to for something like this, right? Maybe the idea just comes as literally a breathlessness, right? Maybe when you're underwater and you can't breathe, or when you're claustrophobic and you can't breathe, and that's the rasa is that, and then you expand it into something. Teaching, how does that intersect with something that is so deeply internalized? How do you?
I'll tell you. When I teach poetry, I mean I conduct poetry workshops. You can't teach. You can't teach a person how to think. You can't teach talent. So you can't teach these things. And one thing I noticed about Indian participants, especially Indian participants, they have a lot of art. We are a dramebaz country. Drama koot ke bhara hai. We have drama. Like, I don't know from where that drama comes, but we have all the drama inside us. So it's only the craft that needs to be honed because the art is always there. I might find or not find in all international, of course I find very interesting work, but in Indian students I always find emotions, that whole emotional value, because I think we live in joint families or closer to our families. You know, we have a different way of living and relationship. So the craft and so South Asian writing will be different. Like different people write different.
I think East Asia, South Asia, collectivist societies have a lot of collective emotions that you synthesize from people around
See,
you.
everyone will write about family, everyone will write about love, but the way you write about love, family, homesickness, loneliness is very different. We are also a populous country.
Just to small what is the word?
Interjection.
No. You have all the bad words.
I was in the US living with my flatmate, and something happened. So I knew something was off. So I just shut up in my room and I don't want to interfere in the common space. And she's like, "How did you know?" I was like, "It's just how you walked." She's like, "What? You know me for 3 months. How do I know how I feel or walk?" And that's what struck me, that we live in such such proximity to humans,
Yeah.
human emotions, human
Yes,
mood
yes,
swings.
yes.
Like when my father tells me something good, bad, ugly, I know I just know that okay, this is coming from a place of irritation or a place of lifelong
That
frustration.
intuitive,
That
picking.
intuitiveness is
Yeah.
so
Yes.
there.
Yes.
You just need to tap it.
Right.
I think that
Absolutely.
advantage we have, when you're speaking,
Yes.
when you're thinking about that advantage is that
Yeah.
there is a lot within us
Yes,
going
yes,
on because there's a lot around us going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are like really a populous country, so you
Yeah.
have per square meter, you have everybody, right? You have everybody. So you are used to that kind of instinctive humanness.
Exactly.
Whether you like it or not, you may sometimes space chahiye, but you are so in tune with it. And yeah, so see how suddenly my antennas have gone there. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know that this hyper stimuli. So I feel the art is always there. It's the craft that needs to be, and that differs from person to person how much they want to invest in their craft. You can take, so at the workshops you can set them on a path of craft, but you cannot after that see where they are going. Some people may stop, some people may never stop. It's up to your hunger and desire. So what I noticed in the workshops, the way I do it is, first we all come guarded to the workshops. Yeah, and you need to write poetry. You need to be completely unleered yourself, because you can't write strong poetry if you are guarded and you feel like fenced.
And that
So-
inhibition, because some of these words you use, right?
Yeah.
Like in the book or in the collection also.
Yeah.
I realize when I write,
Yeah.
there are words I just can't put pen to paper too because
Like
I'm a
which
little-
ones? Tell me.
Well, when it's rap, right? It
Yeah.
took me like years to think that okay, pussy is fine to speak. Years and years. When it was rap.
Try.
Here I've forgotten
Yeah.
immediately, but I made
Yeah.
notes. So I just wanted to
Yeah,
leave the
yeah.
conversation. But I just
I read blatantly, because what you do is you come up with your most inner self, but in a workshop, first you need to unlayer the person. So you don't just say, okay, come on now, just be vulnerable. You can't do that. So what you do is I take them through poetry that is strong and bold of anybody's work, not necessarily my work, curated work, which I have enjoyed over time, and we interpret that.
give examples. Yeah.
No, there are so many which they are there in my workshop
Got it.
doc. But so once you start interpreting, you open the room for someone else's interpretation. You're interpreting. You are now unpeeling, you're unlayering, and now you are okay to be vulnerable when you see some other person vulnerable. See, that's another kind of a good herd mentality. See, once one person says, "Ki, I'll tell you my traumatic, childhood, or I'll tell you how difficult my relationship with my father or mother was," then one other person may say, "You know what? I also had some problems here. You also will tell me." Or the death of a friend.
You trust someone who trusts you.
Yeah, and if you see one person doing it in a safe space, you are like, I also had something similar. Can I also just write it? And it's cathartic. So we have to reach a point of catharsis, not the point of, holding ourselves back. So my workshops are never about poetry actually, it's about life. It's only under the garb of poetry that you start with what these other people, I'll come to you very soon, what these other people have to say, and then you start interpreting. And so by the time they write, it's the form and the content both are heavy, but that in one day you're not going to learn the whole of the thesaurus. You're not going to learn the whole of bread.
So really the journey of
You will,
being inhibition free first.
yes, first you need to, write anything on in draft once, you have to be as bold and wild. You cannot be, ये तो नहीं लिख सकते, वो तो misappropriation हुआ, ये तो censorship है, ये तो जेल में लेके जाएगा, that feminist might be after me, that trolls will troll me. You can't think of all this and that. Then you're not setting yourself free. Then where are you free? If you're not free even in your thinking, then where are you free? Are you free at all? Then we come to the basic questions. Then we are not free. So you have to be free somewhere as writers. You need to be free in draft ones. Then you do anything in draft two. In draft twos or threes, I have thought about is there a political implication if I say this word, or is there a feminist implication, like rape fantasies is one of the poems here. Putting it in my manuscript for the final submissions, or when it was going to the final publication round, I was thinking, you know what, if there is any staunch Kattar feminist who doesn't understand poetry properly, and if she gets it wrong, what if she's after me? You know, what if she gets it wrong? Because feminism is also in various shades, right?
Their expressions are.
Yes, and we are not all in one line speaking one manifesto. We come with a similar language, but we have our own grays.
Yeah.
So what if they don't get it? So, but then I thought, so then I just consulted with a few people. And then so the poem didn't change. I didn't change a word there. Whether it should be in the book or not. Should I take that risk or not? Take the risk. And ab tak koi piche nahi aaya.
It's a powerful poem.
In fact, the opposite happened. There's a Marathi poet who's a very staunch feminist in Marathi, Nirja. She translated it to Marathi.
Fantastic.
And she only said that there's no proper word for orgasm in Marathi. So she went on her own wild-goose chase. I was like, wow.
The language of desire and different lines fantastic.
Yes.
And rape fantasy is a poem that, it's a cliche, but it's true, that literature, poetry, they help you gain perspective, etc. Like, that's the easiest sell. If you go to Instagram reel, they'll be like, oh, why you should read a book? Because it'll give you perspective. For this poem, that is what you get. That is, an insight into what the female thought process or feeling process around desire is, right? So, bold move, but thank you, right? Like, because like you said, if you're not free in your thinking, but if you're not giving space for people to understand, then you're doing a disservice to a general cause of us getting to know each other as humans, right?
Yes. And also again, for the research topic, I had to search once again to be very clear that women have rape fantasies, because not all of them have. There are some women who have rape fantasies, and that is seduction actually, which they think is rape fantasies.
Yeah.
Especially if they are not survivors of violence and they have not had, what do you say, what do you call it? Been assaulted. They have a very, romanticized idea about seduction, which they call rape fantasies in their secret life. So I had to research that again and again, only that, really, is it a worldwide thing? Can I do it? Then I have to permit myself. Then it's okay. Because the word rape is trigger, right? So rape and fantasy, in haiku, these two words don't juxtapose.
Yeah.
Any word can juxtapose, but not rape and fantasy.
Yeah.
Not for the woman at least.
There's a short story written by Margaret Atwood. I think Margaret Atwood, I'm not sure. But yeah, she's written a
There
short
are these
story.
tiny lists you take.
Which is powerful.
Yeah, inform yourself and take.
Yeah, lists, but they're not shots in the dark.
Yeah.
There's a difference. I think a lot of times people mistake one for the other.
Yes.
Just one thing, I have one last question for women in the public. Our peoples. Before that, a lot of you worked in late. So welcome. At the start, somewhere in the corner, is a sheet of a title of a bunch of titles, my favorite titles. And behind is blank space. What you can do through the next week is write your own interpretations of any one or more of either the whole poem if you bought and read the book, or just the words in the title themselves, and upload it on Instagram. I just had to point it out because this was given before at least 4 of us worked it together. My last question, because you're speaking, and it ties in actually rather, is you speaking of bold publishing, being very bold, talking to your publishing.
But we need to get more into that self-communication.
So the big three plug. As unintended as that was. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what you need to do. And then so I think one fine day when it has to sell, because it's in the market, it will sell. But the point is not that. The point is it's going to connect, it's going to build bridges through vulnerabilities that no other form can easily do. Now, imagine the amount of poetry we spoke about. We spoke about 5, 6, 10 poems. You could not do with a novel, right? I mean, I could only tell you a few scenes. Yeah, but I could not tell you everything. But with the poem, we have jumped between a city poem to some wedding day, to Hari Mandonsa, to some other stuff. We jump words. That's what. So many telegrams. Yeah. And so, so the publishing part. So the publishing, I feel, if you want to go like a very career poet kind of a thing, then publishing small catchments of poetry in journals and magazines first help building your resume. And when you are known a little bit, because who will be reading you? Mostly the people who have read at least one piece of your work before the book. It's very rare that we read a poet who comes from nowhere, because we don't know this person at all. So it's also about a relationship, but I think a relationship comes a lot from any form you do. Even Instagram poets or digital creators are building a relationship. We are all going on journeys and we're taking each other. So one of the journey milestones is, if I see 5 of your poems in a journal, then I may like one, but I know this person. So next time I come across you, I'm like, oh, she's written this or he's written that. Wow. So is that the life currently going on with this person? So that's how you build a relationship. So when your book comes out, it's like, oh, I knew you. Right? And the relationship is stronger.
And you know,
and then one last thing about publishing, there are only 8 poetry publishers in India as of now. I'm talking about the indie publishers. They are very passionate publishers, but their queues are long, but they are very passionate. So if you as a practicing poet invest in your craft, and you keep your manuscript as good as you can, okay, and you've done everything you could, you can pitch to them and they take it up. Their queues may be a little long, but the marketing promotion is on you, because how much can we manage? So, but then tell me if Indians were not good at promoting or marketing. Hum to kar hi lete hain. The whole international stuff. Then you can also read, of course, my book. I'm talking of
That goes without saying.
yeah, anthologies. You know, Indian English anthologies. If you want to be, you write in Indian English spaces. Which yes, why not? Because I think we have such great multilingualism with us. We have our own flavor as Indian English poets. You should use that. You know. So read a lot of different voices, good voices. You will find your own as you keep writing, but you have to read a lot to write it.
Can I add to that? Can I add to that? You spoke of multilingualism, right? And I don't know about poetry. I have not attempted poetry since my first heartbreak. But in terms of writing, right? Reading in the language outside of English also teaches you a lot about rhythm, sound, flavor of language and words, and in a way that English sometimes cannot or does not, at least for me. So that's just something I observed in bettering craft and getting a little closer to that feeling that you understand and you can touch and feel words. I think language has
every other language besides English in India is richer.
Yeah,
Is richer.
And if you're a little closer to it, rooted to it, I don't know. I mean, maybe the generations after us may not have that problem also.
That will be a loss to them, because our mother tongues, our regional dialects are very rich. So if you have access to that, well and good. Like, you know, that will always inform. If you're writing in English, it informs it. I think I never lost that basic touch. Like I went to write English, but I never lost the basic. I love Hindi.
Why I mentioned this simply because in school, in literature class, they will take that away. They will focus too much, and obviously bad literature classes, not great ones. But what they focus too much is on correctness of English as the language.
Also teach syllabus, because I'm on syllabus boards also. There are a lot of syllabuses, American and US, UK, like poets, which are far away from what you.
Yeah, their words are different, exactly.
And it's not high time, it's past time that we need to write what is closer to our meaning, because it's relatable to all of us.
Yeah, and it speaks our reality, right? I mean, it's as basic as a representation.
So for the simple fact is, at one place we were trying to translate winter, and we knew that there's such little winter in Bombay. So you see that translation is only so.
Not and not because that's our forte, but genuinely.
And not because I'm teaching at Himalayan. But generally just read a lot.
Yeah, and read us diversely and closely, right? There's a Sahityak Akademi magazine called Indian Literature, which translates routinely from all over India. I know a lot of places I run, so I think that adds value in terms. I do think that there's a lot of craft to be learned from people who write across the world, for sure. But even then, outside our Anglo-American circles, right, African There's some fantastic, powerful African writers, South American
Actually,
writers.
just go to Poetry Foundation
And do
and
everything.
every country will have its poets, you know.
Yeah.
Take one a day. And if you like to read prose poetry, the contemporary Haibun outline. I used to say that if you read one Haibun a day, you will keep the writer's block away.
Ah,
Because
everybody.
Yeah, because it's beautifully written. Anything, you just read that.
You also buy Unblocker. Enough plus for everything. Okay.
You wanted to say something.
Yeah, Priyanka.
Yeah, I don't know what I think the point was that you were saying that when you do your workshops, whenever somebody is talking about something, it just kind of segues into another person saying, "Oh, I have a similar idea." I think that kind of helps in poetry because sometimes when we write, we think that maybe this is just unique to us and no one else is gonna understand or accept it. And when we are in circles like this, we realize that there is no emotion, no instance that's unique to you because open minds. I find a lot of page poetry doesn't necessarily translate to open mind. No matter how much they change it or dump it down or extrapolate upon it, unless they change the poem completely.
Which is a reality acceptance.
Yeah.
This
So
is, yeah.
if you're doing page poetry, just consider whether the poem is something that translates to an open mind or not.
Yeah.
Whether it's performative or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is
That's almost like a story being cinematic or not. Some
Exactly.
short stories cannot be cinematic. They're too interior. So yes,
We have an
we
idea.
have creative choices. Yes.
Any other question? Yeah.
So I had another point to make continuing this conversation. So most of us English medium students or convented, as you said, we tend to think in English. We don't really think in our mother tongue. Like I think in English, in Marathi. I think in English. So that comes very naturally to me. Like right now, you said that there are no winters in Mumbai, and it took me at least 3 minutes to figure out that it's called Hiwara. Even though it's my mother tongue, actually it took me 3 minutes to relate to it. And like you previously also mentioned that how there's no Marathi word for orgasm. So as a even if it's my mother tongue, even though I've read it, studied it in school, I still don't know so many words.
Don't discuss that.
I would request you to go on a thesis about it. That's your thesis.
I think on that topic where there are, especially for intimate terms, they don't exist in Indian languages. I know there are like a couple of different attempts to create these words.
Same for sexual,
Sexual
sexual
orientation,
gender,
exactly. All of these intimate terms that don't necessarily exist in a variety of Indian languages. I know there's an attempt by a couple of different organizations, independent of each other, to have like some sort of sit down and come up with
new words. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I had to do the same thing for Marathi. I was translating some Marathi poetry to English. There was a word which is so simple. We know that every day. It's ovarna. I could not find an English word for ovarna.
Yeah.
So I came up with a new word finally called circumambulate. Because I couldn't find, I had to create a word. So it's circum and then ambulate, the trade. That was the most difficult.
Yeah, right. Like I think the act of, just ideally translating is also a great exercise in the craft, building up
And
craft.
knowing which language is richer. And sometimes richer through its seasons. Like for example, there's Bangladesh with 6 seasons.
And rich also how we experience it. Like if you read Vladimir Nabokov, his English is rich, gold mine pot. Like it's a huge difference, right? So it's also about which English you're we are
But
exposed to.
translations will always make it richer, no? Because you constantly straddling between the.
Yeah, I think a craft just automatically has to improve.
Your leanings and gleanings about life.
Absolutely. Because if they're looking at
One
the
proverb changes you sometimes. A new proverb.
I have a whole interview with Sonu here. He's so I'm gonna plug your work. He's a dialect coach for Lapata ladies, and when I work, dialect coach for Lapata ladies. I love that film, and I was interviewing him because every word in that film stayed with me. I'm like, I don't say good bug for fool, but I want to say good bug for fool, and that's how I talk to just plug in context.
It's so lovely.
We are out of time. We have
But thanks so much for these lovely questions.
Yeah, I was going to say not a abruptly saying
And
goodbye.
questions, yeah.
Questions, conversation. Thank you for making it sit down level that I was imagining it to be. Not we're sitting here because it's easier for recording, honestly. She did. Rochelle was mentioning, should we sit down? I was like, just because it's good for recording, I think this setup works. But thank you for making it, otherwise. For everyone who's bought books or QR codes there, if you're paying cash, let me know. We figure the change. It's $400. If you buy the other book, it's $50 each because that's fine. But yeah, thank you so much for coming, making the time. I hope you loaded up on refreshments. Please grab some on your way out. Rochelle is here for a bit, I think. Outside, if you go outside in the left side, there's an open area. If you want to talk to her, talk to each other, like 10-15 minutes we have. But we have to clear this room.
And I want to thank you for PhD Wala.
Yeah, no, I had
No one ever in my room.
I am so
Not
glad.
even the students who are writing the presentation.